Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Well. G. Bush got an extra $25 for hosting.
Oh, you lead dog today.
So I'm running pick and roll. Jason, I want you to set extra good screens. Dustin, you're gonna flare, and the rest of you guys out there, just rebound. That's what we're gonna do today. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Dustin, Jason Lloyd in the building. It is now. Can I say this? You guys get kind of uptight about this. Don't ever show my children on social media.
No. Oh, I don't care. No.
There you go. It's Kids Day in here.
It's Family Day.
Family Day. Kids Bop's 9.
Say hi. Say hi.
Yeah, so.
There he is.
So at this age.
Patty, Tatum, AJ.
At this age, like when they have a day off, like do they hang out with y'all all day, or what is it like? When y'all done with this, go to your room?
He's got a hitting lesson. AJ's got a hitting lesson after this. We'll go home, grab lunch, then go to the cages. Batting practice.
Are you guys making them take you out to lunch today? Like is it special or something, or is this like go to the crib?
No, I mean they're gonna probably make me take them to Cane's later.
Oh, there it is.
Your kids are hooked on Cane's too.
Hooked.
My daughter is addicted to Cane's. Him not so much. You like Cane's,
yeah.
But my daughter's obsessed with
them
Cane's.
chicken fingers is
fire.
They and I call myself going there eating light. I'm like, no Texas toast, Just add extra, man. That they is kind of lit. They're crazy.
Yeah.
They go down easy too, which is devastating. Like, did I eat that whole 15 piece? This is wild, man. McNuggets behind the glass. What's up, McNuggets?
We're chilling. I'm watching some high school buzzer beater from Des Moines, Iowa. This girl threw it one-handed.
Full court?
3/4 of the court, maybe even further, from right in front of the free throw line, in their final game of the high school before it shuts down because of low attendance. That's crazy.
Man.
Wow. Dang.
Sports are magical.
Yep.
They shutting down high schools because of attendance? That's wild, bro. That's crazy. Like
That's happening all over the place.
Hey, happy Valentine's Day, everybody! I'm wearing the pinks
That's
to
right.
To just show some love, man.
That's right.
So
and the racer pinks just so
he came in full attire. I said, man, I wish I would have known. Now, if you don't know, Dustin is always he sends like thousands of pictures of the kicks. And so what I'm doing is behind closed doors, I've been secretly trying to tool up so I can surprise him with some stuff. So I got some stuff in the holster. Don't worry about it.
Have you been stocking the bomb shelter?
Yeah. I've been the bunker.
Yeah.
The bunker is getting done, man.
I haven't heard much about the shoe game lately.
Yeah, I've been just don't tell nobody. I hate that people.
What's going on with the bowl makeover? Are we still doing that?
Yeah. I mean,
listen, we're ready. We want to
We need
do
to make like a whole bit out of it.
We want to do a whole show. We want to do like a whole sneakerhead type show. But we got to get Bull together. The problem with Bull is, man.
So I had him trying a pair of 12.5 J's. Mm-hmm. Not going to work. Here's what I think. I think we can squeeze him into some 13s.
It's not the length.
It's the width.
It's the width.
It's the width.
It's the girth.
Yes, the girth is out of control, bro. Pause. He has spillage over the, he has extra meat over his bones on the side. So, that meat got to get tucked in. Like, it's crazy, bro.
Are we just doing a shoe makeover? Or are we going to take him to, Lululemon or... Can you imagine Bull in Banana Republic clothes?
No, man. That ain't going to work, man. He's going to have to go to the big dog store. and by the way...
I'm telling you, though, there's a way for him to be comfortable and look just a little better.
Yeah.
He doesn't care, though.
Yeah, he don't really care. Here's two things.
Which is kind of his style.
Here's two things. It's kind of at the end of the spectrum. It's like, all right, conservative, you over the top. So you got Jay and you got Bull. Both of them don't really care, but you can tell they don't like going to stores.
No.
They'll be in there for 4.5 seconds and they're just trying to find the most nondescript thing. Jay wants only grays. He's like, that's a lighter shade of blue. We need gray and brown. That's it. Bull is different. Bull is he's just not. I don't think he has it. You don't.
It's not in him.
It ain't in him. Like, it
But
ain't
that's
in-
okay. It doesn't make him a bad guy.
Yeah, don't make. No, I like it. I like
you a
the-
bad person.
I like the I don't care look sometimes, but we gotta get him.
I think he could lean into like a Tony Soprano look, where he just went more with like an athleisure, kind of like a jumpsuit, like a walking sweatsuit.
wear some of them bowling T-shirts. You know how they be having bowling jerseys back in the day. They'd be having collars and everything. Like
Just
the
like
one
loose
stripe
fitting, like a jogging suit.
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
he could rock that.
Yeah, you could get some jogging suits. Maybe put him some Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might be able to do that. Yeah. So, McNuggets back in the day. Before we get off this, do you remember back in the day when you used to have like in school, you used to have to put. You had a Valentine's Day party, right?
Yes, of course.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
Of
we
course,
made
little cards, yeah.
we made Valentine's Day boxes, right?
Yeah,
and
of
you
course.
put them on your desk, and they'd be like, and everybody had to get a Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Yeah, but back in the day, it was so easy to get them. You just went to like Mark's.
Right.
And there was a whole aisle of them, and you're like, oh man, I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Get the Batman. Let me get whatever. And then you went to school, and then you gave the little things.
Well, I went to the inner city school, so they had to put a end to that really quickly. We was moving to advanced. People was like together in the 4th grade, like, yeah, don't be giving my girl nothing. I'm like, bro. Like, you can't. They had to start checking notes. Like, yeah, like you can't be giving no other people and young ladies notes and stuff. Like,
Wow.
they cut that at 5th grade. No more of that.
Gee, before we dive into the show, I was scrolling Twitter last night, and I saw you had a G. Bush family live show.
Bro.
What is this?
So, no, listen. So, here's the thing. Gosh, this sucks. So, anyway, I'm putting together. I'm always telling people, never do nothing, even if you're working on cameras. Don't ever do nothing or say nothing on camera that you might get caught up with. Because I didn't know it was recording. It was just me and my wife downstairs, and I'm fixing a studio.
And you were live and didn't know
And I
it?
was live on multiple channels. and live all over the place. And my wife was like, babe, why does it say you live right now? I said, I told you not to hit the live button. She said, I thought it was the record button. Bro, we was on Facebook.
For how long?
Man, it was like
26 minutes.
It was on minute. It was crazy. I'm like, I'm down there hooking cameras up. I'm like, this don't work. I don't know why this
I
don't
don't care
work.
what you did. What'd you say?
I didn't say nothing. I mean, McNuggets probably saw it for 46 minutes. But I always tell
you
people,
could have given us like a Shannon Sharp moment.
yeah, I could have. Like, it would have been wild. We would have really been doing like some Valentine's Day stuff. We could have been like, it would have been early.
You just said I'm a healthy man.
That is why when you were doing certain things, make sure, and you always understand in the industry, the camera is always on.
Microphone's always on.
Mic's on.
Man, ain't that
That
the
is
truth.
great advice, G. Let's jump into our first topic of the show, guys. Talking a lot of Cavs, some Browns, and some Guardians. But we start with the Browns after a quick word from FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to make a bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for bigger payouts, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, guys, yesterday, the Haslam Sports Group unveiled its financial plan for the proposed $2.4 billion Brook Park Dome, and I broke down some of the numbers to make it as easily digestible as humanly possible. So, Ant, let's take this first graphic here. In the financial proposal, the stadium would be set to open for the 2029 season. The $2.4 billion, it would be split up into 3 categories: $600 million from the state, $600 million from local governments, and $1.2 billion from the Haslam/private funding, and how that affects locals and their impact here in the Cuyahoga County, Northeast Ohio area. The bed tax would be increased from 6.5% to 7.5%. There would be a $6 fee on any rental cars. Basically, they said, we want to charge people who don't live here, who are just coming to visit, to help fund this. So that $6 fee would be on all rental cars. The biggest proponent would be the 3% increase in admission tax from 3.5% to 6.5%. They would also take some of the Brook Park parking taxes, and then a diverted income tax would be the last stream that helps make up that $600 million from the local side. Jason, you are much better on the financial information, numbers, etc. than I am. So what was your initial thoughts on this proposal to fund the $2.4 billion Brook Park Dome?
Well, I was glad they finally rolled something out because they keep talking about they're going to pay for half of it, and we never really saw a plan on the other half. I don't love some of those projections and totals. First of all, nobody rents cars anymore.
Facts.
So why are we doing $6 increase on rental cars when Uber and Lyft have taken over? I mean, people still rent cars, but go ask Hertz and Avis how many of their fleets they've sold off in recent years because people just don't rent cars anymore. And you're dealing with a lot of projections there on hotel rooms, on the bed tax, on that sort of thing. The admission tax is fine. That goes to people that are using the facilities. I personally still am a proponent for DeWine's plan. I like what Mike DeWine rolled out, where it was taxing gambling money. I wrote about this 2 years ago. When gambling was first legalized in Ohio, the tax rate was 10%, and I said increase it to 13 or 15%, use that 3 to 5% to fund all of these facilities across the state. And DeWine went way further than that, which I love. And they've already, since I wrote that, initially they've increased it from 10 to 20. They've already doubled it. He wants to double it
50,
again
right?
to 40. He wants
40.
to take it to 40, 20 to 40%.
And that's on the gambling companies, not the consumer, right?
That's on the gambling companies. Now, the
Yeah.
companies will probably find a way to pass it on to the bettors. But
Sure.
still, you're taxing the people that are actually using the facility. Ohioans spent over $8 billion in gambling last year. That was the handle in Ohio. In November alone, it was over $1 billion placed on sports bets in the state of Ohio. Ohio's like 5th in sports
We
gambling.
got degenerates, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously, it's who you would think is at the top. It's Nevada, it's New York, it's New Jersey, Pennsylvania are all clearly ahead of Ohio, and then Michigan and Ohio are pretty close in the gambling. But this is where it's at. And DeWine's already getting a lot of pushback on it from both legislatures, and the Haslam seemed to push it to the side yesterday. They want to see more information on it. I think it makes perfect sense. I think that's the route to go. I like that much more. And Mike's right. Mike DeWine told Cleveland.com that he wants to use real cash and not bonds to pay for it. And I think that's right, because if the bonds fall short, you're talking about projections. Like, you're projecting this amount of money. Well, guess what happens when those projections fall short? It falls on the public. So the gambling, I saw some legislatures say they were concerned with increasing the gambling tax because they're afraid that it will then suppress gamblers.
No.
Dustin, is gambling going to be suppressed? No,
and,
not at all.
And you're right. They could definitely hit you on the back end with it. You could just go from -110 to -120 on the juice that they get. So they'll get it back. I don't think it's an issue. I mean, the gambling is going to be there. People are addicted, and people like to gamble in sports. It's Ohio, and there's not a lot of sunny days. So this is going to be one of the states that's going to continue to lead the way for the sports gambling. And
Got to.
Yeah.
Again, in November, just this past November, I just looked this up this morning. So what, 3-4 months ago, Ohio surpassed $1 billion in bets on the handle for the month of November. It was the first time Ohio surpassed $1 billion since way back in, I think it was February. When gambling was first legal, when it first became
years
legal.
ago, right? A couple years ago.
But it was over $8 billion again this year in gambling. Like, that is, I won't say it's free money, but I joked with you guys in the text thread yesterday. Gambling is the money tree that will.
Listen, if we're gonna put our money into it, win or lose, at least the people that are taking our money, at least the bookies are paying up.
Yeah,
they got.
little
Jason
bit.
said it. Y'all got y'all's money. Like, when it came through and the tax was 10%, right? You got all these billions of dollars. You should have already accounted for it. At some point in time, these politicians are going to come in and get their cut. So if you made $8 billion, you take a look at that. That pays for that stadium, the Cincinnati Reds or the Bengals, whoever want a different new stadium. So, I agree with Jason. First and foremost, I'm not trying to deal with no bonds. If you could buy something in cash and get it done with, fine, we'll take that. And then after that point in time, you could worry about how you're going to put different other things around them. I looked at that tax, and that plan that they put out, it looks like something from Gateway. It looks like they got 17 different other. We're gonna get it from the hotels. We're trying to get something for these car companies. We're gonna try to get it a little bit here and a little bit. No, I'd rather get it done from one source. And if you could get 40% and you're gonna tax it, trust me, they're gonna raise the tax anyway. If the stadium was not there, they were gonna get their money regardless. So for me, I just think this is a longer process. To me, all it says was, hey, we're gonna get our stadium. We just don't know exactly what we're gonna settle on the financials, but it's gonna happen.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is that $1.2 billion or the 50% that they're paying the Haslams? Is that higher than you thought that they would pay? Is that enough to make people here in the community satisfied that they're actually ponying up, or is it not enough?
That's the minimum. Okay. I think that's the minimum. I think you're going to have to go higher than that. And I believe, I'm not positive on this, I believe and it's just it's a budget proposal from DeWine. None of this has been passed yet. I don't even know if it's going to get passed. I think it's a great idea. I wish it would pass, but I already saw Democrats, Republicans are already pushing back on DeWine's proposal. But I believe as part of DeWine's proposal, 60% of it has to be privately funded. So he would have to kick in another 10%, which he's got the money.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Adam and I have both said I'm in favor of him paying for the whole thing. And what's important to understand, and they know this, public trust of the Haslams is at an all-time low. From the scandal with Pilot, which he has always
From day one
denied any sort of culpability with. He didn't know anything about it. Whatever. It's still his company. People went to prison over that. 17 people were convicted over that, and that was his company. From the way that the Browns have been managed since he took over, there is zero trust. And that's why they haven't put anything on the ballot, because they know it's not going to pass.
Right.
So they're trying to do this without taking it before voters, because voters aren't going to give them $1. So at minimum, they have to put in 50%. I believe it should be higher. I think, and again, this is all a negotiation. DeWine's proposal will be negotiated. It's never going to be exactly, even if it passes, it probably won't be exactly what it looks like now. You always start high and then work toward the middle. But that, to me, makes a whole lot more sense using gambling funds than it is to try and go to the county and the city, because, again, those are all based on projections. And if you're off on your projections, if they fall short, now it falls on the taxpayers, and I don't like that.
You've talked about it a while, Jason, that, what the Browns are doing is more projected towards opening and getting a dome. Everything they're doing now is trying to facilitate that. Does this kind of put more pressure on them to, at least have a playable product in order to get public sentiment to a place where it lowers the amount of money they'd have to come out of pocket?
If you're trying to sell PSAs, you better have something worth PSAing. And right now, that's not a product worth. It's just not worth it. Who's going to? And I would love a dome. I think I am ultimately pro dome. Mm-hmm. I think they should move off the lakefront. I hate that location. I hate that stadium. Mm-hmm. I think they should move to a dome. But the sticker shock for people in this region, for season ticket holders, is going to be astronomical.
Right.
In terms of, we're going back to the PSA route that there was in '99 when they built it. We're doing that all over again, where you have to pay a fee just in order to be able to buy a seat, and the prices on this are going to be exorbitant. I don't have it in front of me. Go look at Buffalo. Go look at what Buffalo's doing.
I thought we did a show where we had a graphic with, how much tickets are going to cost based on what the new stadium is going to look like.
Those were proposals. I can find that again. That was not an official number by any means, but I remember when we saw those numbers in the show I was hosting that day. They're absurd, so I'll get those up in a sec.
Yeah,
but
crazy.
In terms of, so go forward real quick. We're all in agreement that the gambling tax, if given the option, makes more sense.
And I would go back to weed too. I wrote about that too.
Yeah, why is that not on the list?
They're proposing for the marijuana tax, I think they're trying to increase it, and they're going to put it towards police training, jails, and that sort of thing. I know the Browns at one time were exploring marijuana as one revenue source, and these are all new revenue streams that didn't exist 5 years ago. So take advantage of them. But gambling, for sure, I think this is a huge missed opportunity. And it's not just the Browns. The Bengals are trying to renovate Paycor. Now, the Bengals, I think, are looking for more public money. The Haslams obviously have more money than the Brown family, and the Haslams are willing to put up a higher stake than the Brown family in Cincinnati is. But we're talking about, like, this isn't just Cleveland. This is Columbus. This is Cincinnati. There's a lot of facilities. There's Nationwide, or whatever they call it now, in Columbus. Is it still Nationwide? I don't like Ohio Stadium would fall under this as well. All the facilities in Cincinnati. The thing, like, if I'm the Guardians right now, I'm pissed because they just had to, like, from what we saw, from what they showed me in Zach Meisel of, like, this is the renderings of what we want to do to Progressive Field, and what the way that it turned out are night and day. Like, they had to cut out so much of the initial renovations that they showed us because of construction costs, interest rates, all that stuff. So this is a very, I'm not going to say it's minor because it's obviously a major undertaking what they're doing at Progressive Field, but it's not what they wanted.
Can we ask this question? Given now with the work shortage in construction, let's be honest, a lot of, there's an immigration issue where lots of construction workers were doing some of this work. There's a shortage with that. And with inflation and cost of regular issues like lumber and different things, do you think this thing is going to start on time and finish on time, given some of the requirements and some of the shortfalls that you have in labor costs as well as some of the raw materials?
Well, DeWine's budget proposal won't pass until I think June. So, yeah, I mean, they
would break ground this summer.
It depends on
the proposal said within a year was break ground time.
Yeah,
is that what they put out yesterday?
It depends on what they come up with, what they agree on. If it's the gambling route, if it's this bond route, I think you need shovels in the ground by the end of the year for sure. Because what are we at now? 25, 26. I mean, you could probably stretch this to 26, but you're going to be up against it now. And I looked at this. I looked at the Minnesota Dome, how long it took them. But Minnesota had a ballot issue when they built that, so it was a little different. But I think it took them 3 years to build it. I think. So, I mean, obviously it will take a lot longer for the hotels and the restaurants and the development around that. But you got to have the dome ready to go at the start of 29. So I would think it would have to be shovels in the ground this year or early next at the very latest.
And so let me get this straight. So, because the logistics, now I don't know if you guys have heard this. Now they got the dome, right? They've already purchased the land. So you're telling me that when they put the restaurants, the shopping, whoever decides to come there, the transfer, all that good stuff, the Haslams are 100% stake owners in the surrounding land.
They will have all of it. They will be printing money. And you know what? Like, I've said 100 times, I'm all for capitalism. Make as much as you can.
But you got to put that money up, though.
Right. And that's why minimum 50% on the dome. Minimum. I think it should be higher, but at absolute minimum. And he needs to be responsible for any overruns, because you said it earlier, with construction situations the way it is today, there are always overruns.
Yeah.
I just built a house. Trust me. I know all about overruns.
They come back to you.
And he needs to be responsible for the overruns.
He did say they would pay from the Haslam or the private funding for any overruns.
Yeah.
I got those alleged ticket prices from the season ticket survey they had sent out a while ago. I'll just read them to you because I don't have the graphic. I just have a picture of it. But for a lower dog pound seat for the entire season, it was $1,845, which breaks down to about $230 a game. Mm-hmm. For the upper dog pound, it was $2,615. If you assume it's a 9-game season, it's $290 a ticket. If it's an 8-game home season, but I know there's preseason games involved too, but you get what I'm saying. Over $300 a ticket. It's going to be exorbitant, however you want to slice and dice it. But I want to ask you guys this real quick. On the proposal that the Browns put out yesterday, so take out marijuana, take out gambling, at least on what they proposed yesterday. Jason, Dustin, G, an increase in the bed tax, a fee on rental cars, the admission tax to Brook Park jumping up by 3%, which, as the Browns point out, would be a user tax, the parking tax in Brook Park, and then that version of the Project City income taxes generated from players, staff, and other workers on site. If this is the route that the Browns do go, and I'm just basing that off a proposal, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but off their proposal, how much does that impact, affect, hurt, help people locally in Northeast Ohio?
I mean, the way they're trying to do this is that there is no impact.
Right.
But again, like these are all based on projections, and if the projections fall short, then there will be an impact. And that's the only reason I don't love it is it's really hard to see that.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah.
There you go.
That's just a breakdown of the state, county, Brook Park.
So they put up half, and then the state puts in $600 million, and then the county and city are the other $600 million.
Correct.
So, I think there's risk in that. I think there's more risk in that than there is in the gambling. That's, I guess, the best way for me to say it. I'm not totally opposed to that, I guess, but I do think that the Haslams should put up more. And
I don't disagree with that. I mean, that's a case everybody can make, that they should, especially if they're going to get the revenue from every single. They own the property, right? I mean, they're getting it, so they're getting hooked up by the public. I mean, I'd prefer to see it all of them, obviously.
And I think it should.
I mean, I think 1.2 billion is a lot
of
money, of course, but in the end, dude, they're going to make that money back like tenfold.
Yeah, I just don't quite understand. Like, I know somebody. If I'm in the city, I'm like, look, man. You knew you wanted this stadium for how long? You just bought another team. You just literally bought another NBA franchise and was like, yeah, you just shelled out that bread like it wasn't nothing. Mm-hmm. You own a soccer team. You own a bunch of different stuff. Like, yeah, we get the fact that, and I heard them say this kind of a little bit as well. Like, I think in one of their statements, they talked about given the fact that the NFL, this is just per whatever, everyone does it. Like, they're not, this is just normal business. Like, usually NFL teams and NFL cities put up some money for the owner if they want a new field, a new stadium, new dome, whatever the case may be. But that's kind of hard to swallow. When we don't know the actual number, because we talked about this before, Jason. We don't know the actual number that they paid for the Milwaukee Bucks, but it had to be in hundreds of millions. It couldn't have been nothing light.
No, I forget what Mike, can you look it up? I think it was like $350 million, which seemed low.
For what?
For the Bucks, what the Haslams reportedly paid for the Bucks. Shams had it. I know Shams had it. And then I was told that number was inaccurate, but I never saw what was then believed to be an accurate number. But it is at least a projection to go off. But, gee, this is what...
The projection was $700 million.
700 that they paid?
Yeah, I don't know if that's correct or not, but that was the...
That they paid? I thought they paid half that. I thought the valuation was 7 and they paid 350. But I could be wrong.
I'm seeing they bought 25% with a $3.2 billion valuation.
All right. So, okay.
Once again, that is just simply...
Was that from Shams?
I'm reading the Forbes website.
That's good
right
enough.
now.
That's good enough. All right, so I was off on the numbers. So, yeah, $700 million.
So if they're already putting up half, which is 1.2, right?
Yeah.
That $700 that they spent on the Bucks gets you almost to $2 billion.
Yeah.
You all the way home at that point.
And this is what, like we invest in real estate, right? That's what the common man does. They buy teams.
Right.
That's their version of buying homes and investing in real estate. But like their investment vehicles that just grow over time. And I'm just, I don't want to sidetrack. But there's got to be a point where this bubble bursts. And I'm wondering, we were talking about this the other night, I'm wondering if that's why some of these NBA owners are jumping ship. Because guys are getting out, and I'm curious. I haven't put all the pieces together.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure, because when I found out and it just hit me, I said, hold on, Mark Cuban ain't.
Yep.
I don't know how that happened. I was just like, what do you mean Mark Cuban?
That was the one
Have you seen these contracts lately? I mean, at some point, dude, these guys are making too much money than they're going to bring in.
Yeah. So that's I don't want to sidetrack the whole thing.
I think you're on something there.
But it's something weird is going on with these valuations. But I mean, that's what they do. The wealthy people, like the 1%, buy sports teams as investment vehicles.
And by the way, we're gonna come up, we're gonna support it. You know what it is. Like, I don't even know why we even do all the shucking and jiving and talk about, well, we won't show up. No, football is almost a religion at this point. Like, you support your team, you go to church, you go to mass, you go to the mosque, you go to wherever you go. You're gonna go to that stadium because it's your team and it's part of your identity. So it sucks a little bit that, hey, but at least if the gamblers are gonna keep gambling, and they already got their money, so I would rather do it that route.
This is all a negotiation. The whole thing is just it's a negotiation between the city of Cleveland and the Browns over this Modell law thing. There's a negotiation for how to pay for it. It's all connected. It's all tied together. And if the Haslams want to build goodwill, because again, their trust factor is in the negative right now, they come out and say 70%, 75%, whatever it is, I think that would go a long way toward helping to rebuild credibility and trust.
Two things, then we'll move on. But we got a tweet from someone from Aaron Lee who just says Buffalo's doing the PSL route and Bills fans are not happy about it. So he just
but they're buying them.
Just to mention that. And secondly, to your point, Jason, it's all a negotiation. How much of a factor do you think the Haslams, the city? Let me ask it a different way. How much is the public being used as pawns in this negotiation process?
How much is explain? I'm not.
Like, public pressure is going to end up being part of whatever the finality is, whether the Haslams pay for half, more, et cetera, et cetera. How much of all the plans that are being, not leaked because they put this out yesterday, but we saw the Dome proposal come out, and then way longer we saw, if they renovated the Dome, this could come out. Like, it seemed like there's some pretty strategic timing on some of this stuff. Not all of it, but on some of this. How much do you think the public is being used as a gauge of interest, or hey, they might go for this, they might not? Like how much are we being involuntarily used as part of this negotiation?
Part of it's a weather vane, or like you see which way the wind's blowing and see what the reaction is to some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's going to come down to negotiations between the Haslams, city and county leaders,
and the politicians.
In Cuyahoga County. Yeah, and I said it before. Like, at some point, I believe the city of Cleveland has to give the Browns a number and say, let's make this go away.
I was just going to ask that question. If they say, listen, hey, give us $100 million, you're on your way. We just need that. We need a going away present.
And I think the Browns would write that check, but the city has to come up with something, because I do think ultimately it's best for them to be in a dome in Brook Park. I agree. And you could do so much more with the lakefront than put a stupid stadium there that you use 10 times a year. Like, what a waste of space. And I've talked to people who have built these things before. Like, when I was first starting to dig in on this stuff, I talked to people who were part of the gateway negotiations way back in the day. And one thing, it was like, we have this beautiful lakefront. We have these beautiful architectural designs think about the Rock Hall and the Science Center, and they look like Tinker Toys because you've got this monstrosity that sits vacant all the time that is not, it's just there. There's nothing around it in terms of football, and it's just wasting space on the lakefront. So if the Haslams would be, and they are, I think that they are willing to be part of the redevelopment of the lakefront still, even if they pull out. They can't just pull out and abandon Cleveland. I don't think they will. I think that they've told the city, just give us a number. What's it going to take? And the city has to realize this is what's best for the region, come up with that number. That Jimmy writes the check and is part of the renovation process of the lakefront. Everybody can win on this thing. I still believe that.
You know what the problem is, Jason? Problem is then the city would actually have to do something. The city, I think sometimes we don't get it. The city is not, they're not innocent in it. The city could have initiated a lot of different things. The city could have initiated its growth and development while the Browns were there. Yeah. They could have done something on their own initiative. And if the Browns give them a bag of money and say, hey, look, this is we're going to still commit to doing something down on that lakefront, then the city would actually have to follow through. Yeah. They would have to actually build something. Right. They would actually, because from what I know, I'm from Canton. I've been here. But look, Canton, they've revitalized the Hall of Fame, right? They got behind it and they said, look, we got to do something. We got the Hall of Fame. We got all these people coming in here, and they come downtown, there ain't nothing. They come around the facility. Yep. So they said, let's build some infrastructure so people can come here year round. Yeah. So here in Cleveland, hey, you got the Browns, you got the Cavs, you got the Guardians. When are you going to start being, have an initiative to go do something instead of talking about it? Yeah. And so hopefully if they do give them that check, maybe that gives them some giddy up to actually do something.
Well, Cleveland, I mean, this is a whole other conversation, but Cleveland has suffered from brain drain for generations. People grow up here and then leave. Yeah. And that's why you have Browns backers clubs all over the country, because people grow up here, they're passionate about their team, and then they leave because there's no opportunities for them here. They need more. I mean, Sherwin-Williams bringing their headquarters to Cleveland, I've talked about 100 times, was huge for the city. That was huge. Dan has brought some Quicken stuff to Cleveland. I asked the Haslams when they were still part of Pilot, bring it here. Why don't you bring it here?
Right.
And they said they were happy in Nashville, and now obviously they're out of that entirely. They liquidated, they sold off everything from there. But we need more business to come here. More business come.
An example of a bar restaurant that's around these places that just can't even afford to pay the rent and keep it open because people are staying and the bodies are going through the door. Like that's the issue. I mean, like it was hopping for a minute when the Cavs won in 2016.
Yeah,
downtown was popping.
It was jumping.
It was jumping. So I don't know if it'll ever get back. Ever get back to that, but it was fun then. Yeah. But not so much anymore.
McNuggets, before we switch gears, we'll get to a conversation about the top 100 players in the Ringer with the Cavs. You'll be surprised how many people they got on the list. But before we get to that, McNuggets has a little something to tell us.
Yeah, if you're not already a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, I highly recommend you consider becoming a member. There's 2 different tiers. $1.99 a month gets you a starters tier package, which gets you loyalty badges and custom emojis in the chat. But for $4.99 a month, that's the big tier here. The coaches tier, it gets you all the same stuff as the starters tier perk, plus daily overtime videos Monday through Thursday, extra content from the UCSS crew, member shoutouts, discount codes and merch, and much, much more. So if you're not a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and want some extra content, would highly recommend you become a coaches tier member. Just hit the join button on our YouTube page. G alluded to it a second ago, but The Ringer puts out a top 100 players in the NBA. To start the season, they update it at the All-Star break, and then they do another ranking at the very end of the season. And the Cavs, after the acquisition of DeAndre Hunter, now have 5 players in The Ringer's top 100. Donovan Mitchell checks in at the midseason update at number 12. Evan Mobley at 22. Garland at 33. Jarrett Allen at 49, giving the Cavs 4 players in the top 50, and DeAndre Hunter at 91. And if you take the next graphic, we can see the preseason rankings. So that's where they are currently. In the preseason, Mitchell was at 16. He's at 12 now. Mobley jumped 24 spots up to number 22. Garland also jumping 20 spots into the 30s. Jarrett Allen bumped up 6 spots to 49. DeAndre Hunter was not ranked. Now he is. And go back up to the initial one just so we can see their current rankings one last time. 12, 22, 33, 41, 49, and 91 for the Cavs, giving them 5 players in the top 100. Only 2 teams have more than 5. Boston and OKC both had 6. A few teams had 5, but Jason, Dustin, G, I'll start with you. Do you have an issue with any of those particular rankings number-wise, and which one surprises you the most in either a good way or a bad way?
No, I don't got no problem with these numbers. What you mean? Like this is what I was supposed to be getting with the Browns. This is exactly what we need to see. The fact that you got DeAndre Hunter sneaking onto the list means that they think he's going to be an added bonus for the Cavs moving forward. He wasn't ranked. He averages 19. And by the way, I must say, my man is not shy. I saw him. I was watching the game with my dad. I said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about no pleasantries. He's coming in firing. He's shooting. He's jacking these shots up." I said, "Oh, I like this." The most impressive leap are the 2 big leaps. The Darius Garland went from, where was he at, 58th or something?
58 to 33.
That's a big leap.
That's a huge jump. Like, that's a big time, especially where his stock was. Remember, we was at the end of last year talking about, hey, we can't find nobody to take Darius Garland's deal. We can't even find nobody to take his contract after the way he played against the Celtics. And then the biggest leap is this, Evan Mobley, because when you start naming 10 players, right, when you start naming top 100 and top lists, everybody like to say people is in the top 10 until you start to name them out and list them out. If you think about 22, that's wild. I could give you SGA, Luka, LeBron, KD. That's 4 right there. Listen, there are all, Tatum, Brown. There's a bunch of guys you can name off the top of your head just to get to 10. 22 is very impressive. especially given the fact that, where he started from and the way he's playing. I think that's the bigger surprise to me, is that he's cracking the top 20, and with this trajectory, Dustin, I wouldn't think that he was going to continue to go on, and by next year could be a top 15 player.
No, I think it's a great point. I mean, he really has. People thought that he couldn't fit here with Donovan Mitchell, and obviously we make a coaching change, and we're proven wrong. Like the people, I was one of those people, by the way, raise your hand if you were, that thought they could not play together. You had to trade one of them. You had to do something to try and kind of shake things up, and that has not been the case. They've been so good. They've gelled together. I think the way that Mobley has evolved his game and really, really turned it into everything into a strength, especially his perimeter game. That's helped everybody. And then, like, you add DeAndre Hunter. By the way, Mikey, when did Hunter get into the top 100? Like, is it because of this trade, or is it because of how he performed this year with Atlanta?
I'm assuming it's Atlanta because this was updated. I don't think the 2 games would bump him if they didn't have him ranked before. I think it's more the seasonal work. But they do one preseason. They do one right before the All-Star.
So
break.
the reason I say that is he wasn't ranked preseason, so he's had a good year. And so he's in the top 100. Now he's on a better team. Like, dude, what was he, 92, Mikey?
91.
91. All of a sudden, you put him on the Cavaliers, he might be a top 75 player.
Yeah, because he's you think about it, he's never going to be the focal point of anybody's defensive rotations. They're like, hey, we got to stop Garland, we got to stop Donovan Mitchell. Evan Mobley is a threat. Now he's going to be he's a fourth option, but look who he's going to be getting shots against.
I think he's a better version of like Karis LeVert, who also is a guy that could give you 30 on any given night.
I think that's a great point. Like, he's a longer, more physical version of Karis LeVert. I don't know about his, McNuggets, you could tell us how he is off the ball in the first few games. I was more impressed with his on-the-ball defense. I think he's kind of quick to be that tall and big. But I don't know what his defensive rotations look like so far, but I think that he's an upgrade from Karis LeVert. And Karis LeVert was having a decent defensive season, right?
Yeah, I mean, Hunter has all the physical tools to be a lockdown, legitimate defender against not just bigger wings, but smaller wings. He's got the size, the quickness, the lateral ability to stay in front of just about anyone on the court. And when he's locked in, he can be a guy that you can count on to get stops one-on-one. Jason, what did you make of the rankings? And I texted you guys last night that I'm not sure any player jumped higher than Mobley, who jumped 24 spots. Well, my math was wrong because Darius Garland jumped 25. So not only was it just the biggest jump on the Cavs, it wasn't even the biggest jump in the thing. It wasn't even the biggest jump on the Cavs. Both those guys jumped 24 and 25 spots.
Well, 5 in the top 100 is great. Obviously, I like 3 in the top 33 because that's basically the top 30. And if you run the numbers, averages say every team should have 1 in the top 30. Well, the Cavs have 3. And I was just quickly scrolling the list. I didn't think of this until just now, so I was just quickly scrolling through the list. The Cavs, I know Boston's 3rd is lower than 33. So the Cavs 3 are higher than Boston's 3 because Derek White, I think, is around 40.
He is 40 on the dot, correct.
I don't know about OKC. I didn't look at them. Shea's obviously.
OKC's 3rd is Holmgren at 35. So
all right, so pretty close.
The best trio. And by the way, SGA is 3. Jalen Williams is 21, so 1 spot ahead of Mobley. And then Holmgren 2 spots behind Darius Garland.
Now, these are just subjective rankings, but that tells you how tight these teams are.
So
with their top 3 players.
So you're saying that the Cavs got the best starting 5? Is that
they got the best top 3 according to these rankings, at least. Their big 3's bigger than anybody else's big 3. I mean, this is just the Ringer's projections. It's just their rankings. But this is still a star-driven league, and we've talked about the parity within the league, and we've talked about they've got to go about roster building a different way. But the league over the last 30 years has been built on stars, and you've got to have those guys at the top if you're going to win. And the Cavs have those guys.
This is closer than I thought. Like, we was talking about it when they were going through the whole championship window and all this good stuff, and we talked about comparing 2016 to now. If you had to go back and re-rank the 2016 Cavs with their big 3, like I'm sure that somebody has already done that, but how would Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and LeBron James stack up in that thing? Because LeBron would probably be 1.
LeBron been 1 or 2.
Kyrie Irving would have probably been at the time
top 20.
Top 20. And then Kevin Love would have, fallen somewhere, probably in the top 50, right?
Oh, for sure. Kevin probably would have been 35.
I was gonna say it's around 30.
Yeah.
It's close. I laugh all the time when they say who has a better roster between that 2016 and today.
No,
it's still
16.
It's still 16, right? But
like you say, don't get it twisted.
don't get it twisted. It's still 16.
But the difference is too. Mitchell's their best player at 12.
Yeah.
LeBron was the best player at 1.
He was worth.
Right.
He's worth 2 cats in the
Yeah.
top 10.
Yeah.
So I get
It's
it.
a big from 12 to 1 is a big jump in
Like
the NBA.
their big 2 back then in 16 was a problem.
Being in that arena,
It was a problem.
Game 5, right? Yeah, Game 5 at Golden State when Kyrie and LeBron shot the lights out.
Them
man.
40 apiece.
That was
That
was a night.
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like
That was a night.
that is the equivalent of, let me see, Darius Garland and I guess Donovan Mitchell being like, oh no, against OKC. Oh no, we're not gonna miss. We're gonna hit for 40.
That was wild. I mean, LeBron, to your point, LeBron was that dude. And I remember when they fell down 3-1, I was talking to Kevin in the locker room. I was talking to Kevin Love at his locker. And this is 20 minutes after they lose Game 4 to go down 3-1, and everybody thinks it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks it's over. And I told Kevin, I'm like, if you can find a way to steal 5, you got to take 5. And this is before Draymond was suspended. But I'm like, if you can find a way to steal 5, you're not losing 6 at home.
Right.
No
And
chance.
That's exactly what he said. No chance. And I said, and LeBron was at his locker at the time. And I said, I'll take my chances with that mother bleeper in a Game 7 over anybody else in the league. But you got to find a way to get 5. You just have to find a way to get 5, and it's a series.
Kyrie, that was the
Remember
time.
Klay Thompson?
Oh.
And
It's
LeBron
a
goes,
man's league.
He said what?
Yep.
Bill
Kyrie,
Livingston.
Yep.
God bless you, man, for the
Yep.
question.
Yep.
Kyrie was a
I'll never
bad
forget the
boy.
question.
Well, you know what's funny about that? So the Warriors were feeling themselves. They're up 3-1. They're feeling themselves. And there's a little bit of a break between when the Warriors leave and when the Cavs come in. And LeBron was sitting up against the wall.
I remember it. He was sitting there,
sunglasses
yeah, he was
on.
in his
and
t-shirt,
He's
yeah.
dribbling basketball, listening to his music. And I almost said something to him about what Clay said. I almost did, but I didn't.
Glad you didn't.
I know, right? Because we would have lost that moment.
Yes.
So I didn't say anything to him. He gets up on the podium, and Bill asks him the question. LeBron goes, Clay said, what?
What?
And it's like
it
an
gives me chills
all-time
thinking
great
about it, dude.
moment.
Jason,
All-time
as
great.
someone who wasn't there and did not follow the ins and outs, will you just fill me and anyone else who's not 100% confident of the exact question that was asked?
So the Warriors were upset that Draymond got suspended.
Yeah,
for
because
5.
he kicked LeBron in the nuts.
Punched him.
Whatever, punched him, yeah.
Punched him. And they felt like the Cavs were baiting Draymond into that, and they didn't agree with the suspension. They didn't like the suspension. And Clay had said the NBA is a man's league, basically calling LeBron
baby.
Yeah. And Mo Spates, who played in Cleveland briefly.
Right.
Maurice Spates tweeted out a baby bottle on his Twitter account. Like, everyone was like making fun of LeBron. And I remember thinking, like, what are you guys doing? Why would you throw raw meat in the Tigers cage? And so Bill Livingston asked, a retired Cleveland plain dealer columnist now, asked LeBron at the podium about, Clay said it was a man's league.
And
LeBron,
he asked it in such a perfect way.
Yeah. I mean, Bill's been around forever. And he covered the NBA
Yeah.
for a long time in
Yeah.
Philly. And LeBron said, like, hold up, wait a minute. Clay said, what? You can find the clip. It's hysterical.
Oh, it's great. And it almost felt like in that moment, and there are highlight videos that have been made with that clip, and,
Yeah.
and it was like a bam, like that's
Yeah.
when the switch got flipped.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we all felt it, man.
And LeBron said, it's so hard. It's so hard to take the high road. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take the high road. And, like, he didn't really respond, but he did. And it was just a great little moment. And I think that's the day he had on the Undertaker T-shirt, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
symbolism, man.
Yeah.
You know what? And I was going to ask you guys this. Like,
Real quick.
go ahead.
Hold that thought, because we mentioned the Undertaker T-shirt. So then the Undertaker shows up. You remember this?
Yes.
Undertaker showed up opening night of the
I
trophy
remember that.
ceremony, but they didn't like plan this. So they were trying to get time with LeBron, and LeBron wouldn't meet with them. So like they came for nothing. It was Undertaker. It was Ultimate Warrior's wife
Because he had passed.
and kids.
obviously,
He
yeah.
had passed. And I don't think they ever got time with LeBron because LeBron wasn't going to be used like that. Like, it's just that's just how he is.
That was
Go ahead.
wild.
Anyway,
No, I was gonna say, it just seems like back then, like when we were in the throes of that Warriors like conflict, and we was going to the finals every year. McNuggets, it almost felt like you lived and died with every game. Even some of the series like the Toronto Raptors series,
Yeah.
or the Atlanta Hawks
Yeah.
and the Boston Celtics, we lived and died with them. I have not felt that way watching the Cavs, because I know there was a ceiling. We're playing at a different level, and hey, we're just trying to figure out where we can get to. This year, I think, will be the first year that a lot of people feel that
Absolutely.
every single game means a lot.
Because
type
you feel like
thing.
this team could win a championship.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
never felt that way. You didn't feel that way last year
Yeah.
or the year before. But this team has a chance to win a championship. And to your point, I think I mentioned this on the show before. I remember talking to Mike Miller that year, the first year when they all came together. When LeBron came back, he brought James Jones and Mike Miller with him. And I was talking to Mike after a finals game, and Mike said, like, listen, even for us, every time you win an NBA Finals game, you feel like you'll never lose again. You're going to win the championship. And every time you lose, you feel like we're never going to
over.
win again.
Yeah.
The series is over. Even they feel that because it's so intense and the emotions are so high in an NBA Finals. Maybe not in the rounds leading up to it, but he said in those finals games, we feel it too. When you win, you feel like you're never going to lose again. And when you lose, you feel like it's over and you can't win.
Yeah, I think. Listen, Dustin, I feel like I could keep imagining, like when you get around to the April and the May and it's spring out and then Easter happens and then you get past the first round. I think people in the city is going to start to be
it's
like,
going to be electric, dude. I'm telling you, this year is going to feel so much different in the postseason than it has in the past, post LeBron.
Yeah.
Because this is the team that actually can do it. There's no other players out there standing in the way of the Cavaliers. Like when it was LeBron,
Yep.
And even though we had the best player, there was still the Steph Curry, the Kevin Durant, the Dre. I mean, that team was a super team. We know that, but like they were in front of us, and so it was a challenge. This is like, okay, dude, if we get out of the Eastern Conference,
Yeah.
like bro, we could be going to the finals thinking this is not just going to be like showing up.
Yeah.
It's going to be like showing up to get it done.
we might be able to do it. That's why. And listen, this spring, it's gonna be
It's gonna be
nuts.
lit, dude. I'm
It's
telling you,
gonna be nuts.
you're making me think about just now. You know, the weather starts to turn a little bit.
Yep.
It's April. We just got through March Madness. St. Patty's Day happens.
training then
Spring
happens.
is sprung, and we're gonna start getting that buzz. You know, remember in college, you remember the quad. You
Yeah.
start seeing a little more skin.
March Madness,
It
yeah, you go.
starts.
Yep.
You start
Yep.
to get the good blood flowing, and I'm telling you, the
Days
city
get
is
longer.
going to sunset.
Yeah.
You know, a
Sun's
little
up,
later.
buns out.
Yeah, baby.
Yep. I want to make a point on the updated Ringer Top 100, but I got to do a FanDuel read real quick, so just bear with me. When the game tips off, NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to place a bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action, and if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So back to the top 100 real quick. And if you take the preseason rankings first, this was the preseason, not the updated, but Mitchell at 16, Mobley at 46, Allen at 55, Garland at 58. Hunter wasn't on the team.
That's funny. I just noticed Allen was ahead of Garland.
Allen was ahead
That
of
was
Garland in the
crazy.
preseason rankings, correct. To me, the updated version is a little bit of validation for anyone out there who still doesn't believe the Cavs are getting the national respect they deserve. They may not get the lead story on SportsCenter on any given night, and they may not be the first topic in a sports podcast, but the way The Ringer puts together this list is they have everyone who writes NBA articles for the website submit a top 100. Then they take the consensus and the average of each player and rank them. The first three on that list, Mitchell, Mobley, Garland, that is the highest ranked trio in the entire Ringer Top 100. They will never be the headline team in basketball until they win the championship. That still goes to the superstars, the LeBrons, the Lukas, those kind of guys. But I do think the national tide is starting to turn to where the Cavs, for their play on the court, individually and as a team, are starting to get a little more national recognition and appreciation than some people are willing to admit. Because I keep getting a ton of tweets. Why is no one talking about the Cavs? Where's the Cavs coverage? People are taking notice of what Cleveland has done this season, and rankings like this from a national outlet who have the Cavs trio ranked higher than any other trio in basketball, I think point to the changing of the tide in that narrative. G, what do you think about that?
Listen, I think you're spot on. If you watch the games, if you're looking at the games, when you hear guys announce the games, they're saying the Cavs are the best team in the league. When you go look at the halftime shows, when you look at Shaq or Chuck or whoever the case may be, they're saying that the Cavs are one of the best teams, or if not the best team in the league. And I think this dawned on me as he was reading that question. A couple of years ago, we were talking about the way the Denver Nuggets put it together, right? Remember we talked about, hey, they did it in a way where they did it organically, and we need to model what we do after the Nuggets. And then this list comes out in a couple short years, and they have a 2-3-time MVP in Jokic. They had a bunch of guys, younger guys like Murray, Porter. Now all of a sudden you look at the Cavs rankings, and they have them ranked higher than what Denver has brought to the table. This turnaround is crazy, given the fact that just last year we was talking about whether these dudes could play together, the two bigs, whether Darius Garland was ever going to see the All-Star game again. And now you get to this ranking system, and they're higher than teams that we thought we wanted to pattern our rebuild around each other. It's just, to me, Jason, it's like, it's kind of hard to kind of pinch myself, and I'm interested in seeing how they talk about the Cavs during the All-Star break in terms of those new guys, Mobley and all those guys, Allen and all those guys, just getting an opportunity to play.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs, I think they're ahead of schedule. You know, the players, they arrived faster than even the players thought, or the front office thought, or the coaching staff thought. Like, clearly, nobody saw this coming. And I roll my eyes and laugh at the whole national. I mean, the Cavs are very much respected. Believe me, I talk to all the national writers that come through. I covered the league for 10 years. I know all of the people that you're talking about that want, and they all believe the Cavs could win the East, like, without question. But, like, the sports media landscape, I said this before, the landscape has changed so much. Like, what do you want? You want him to talk? You want Stephen A. Smith to talk about you? Is that going to make you feel better?
Right.
If they talk about you on Get Up, like, is that going to make you feel better? Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
I don't understand what the chip on Clevelanders' shoulders.
It's so tiring.
Where it comes from, I guess I know where it comes from. But the fact that they're not talking about us, okay, who cares?
So what?
Listen, they're not a sexy team.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have a LeBron James.
That's right.
We don't have a Michael Jordan. Like, we've got awesome players.
Right.
A great team that can win. And look, we're in Cleveland. Like, if the Browns were really good, they're probably not talking about the Browns either. It's just kind of is what it is. Accept it and just kick their ass. Just kick everybody's ass along the way.
Apparently, everybody's just obsessed with ESPN.
Yes.
So it's just whatever.
Listen,
ESPN
God love them. I work for them.
Yeah,
They're
right.
great. They're a great company.
But, like, I don't understand why, if ESPN is talking about you, it's the end all be all. I just don't understand that. And you're right. Like, for as great as Donovan is, he's not a top 5 player in the game.
And by the way, no one on the Cavaliers, no one's ever going to say anything controversial,
right?
Because they're too smart and they're too good at teammates with high character.
Yeah.
So that's something else that that doesn't sell. Like, being good guys who play really good basketball, like, that doesn't really sell.
ESPN's going to talk about the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, LeBron. They're going to play
the hits.
They love dysfunction.
Play the hits.
They're going to play the hit. We all know that. And I mean, the ESPN talked about the Cavs all the time when LeBron was here, because LeBron was that.
He was the guy.
He was the driver.
Correct.
And without that, like, I mean, go back and look at the Nuggets. When the Nuggets won, and Mike Malone was so pissed that ESPN was still talking about the Lakers. Well, that's the Cavs are the Nuggets now. Like, that's just the way that it is. And who cares? If you're throwing another parade in June, they'll show it. Like, you'll be there. You know.
Well, we're gonna get to some more Cavs, but we got a guy coming up that will tell us all more about the Cavs, and he does care what the people think about the Cavs. Tim Alcorn. But first, let's get to Anthony and Ultimate Browns. Oh, that's me. Oh, look.
Talk about your show, man.
Let's talk about my show. Listen, Ultimate Browns, make sure you subscribe. We were supposed to have one Tuesday. I had to go get a procedure on my mouth done, pause. But we got it together, Ultimate Browns, every single Tuesday right here on the UCSS. But let me tell you about this. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., We got the barbershop. We did massive numbers. We've been doing big time numbers. First show, we're going to be talking about the Cavs tomorrow. We're going to get to some quarterback controversy. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the top 3 picks the Cavs can get to and much more. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you know when the barbershop comes on Saturday. We'll be doing it live 2 hours from start to finish. I don't take no breaks. We'll go 9 to 11 tomorrow right here on the UCSS network.
And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Tim Alcorn, the radio play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, to the show. Tim, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, man. Great to be here. Thanks for
There's
having
that
me.
voice, baby.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
I can run, but I can't hide.
How's it feel for the Cavs to go into the All-Star break and they are cooking on all cylinders, plus another addition with De'Andre Hunter? We've been asking for a 3 for a long time. They get it. What do you expect from him moving in the All-Star break? And how does it feel to be sitting at the top of the league in the Eastern Conference with over 40-plus wins? It's crazy.
Well, first of all, I was listening to you guys before I joined you here. I don't understand what this obsession is with we're not getting enough national media attention. And I agree wholeheartedly. Like, who cares? Who cares? We're 44-10. You know, Bill Parcells used to say, you are what your record says you are. Well, right now, it's one of the best in the NBA. So whether they're talking about us on a national level or not, irregardless, the Cavs are one of the top teams in the East. And certainly, I don't know if anybody saw this coming. But man, did they strike gold with the hiring of Kenny Atkinson and everything that he's implemented and how those guys have bought in to the Kenny Atkinson system. The offense is just incredible.
Tim, what's the biggest difference? You've been covering the team for a while. I mean, from last year specifically with JB to now with Kenny, you talked about him. Obviously, we see the difference on the court, but just with the way that they're playing, with the way the personalities, like, what's the biggest thing that you've seen being an insider?
To me, at least on the floor, obviously it's the offensive end.
Yeah.
I mean, what Kenny has been able to do to unlock Evan Mobley, and he talked about that at his introductory news conference, Jason. You were there. I mean, it was, we can find a way, and we will find a way to get 2 bigs to work together, which he's done with Jarrett and Evan Mobley, get this backcourt cooking. He thought DG would have a big bounce back year, and he did. So to Kenny's credit, he just lets these guys play. And he has a personal relationship with these guys. And I think he learned a lot of that from Steve Kerr in Golden State. And Kenny would be the first to admit when he was coaching in Brooklyn, it was just coaching, X's and O's, X's and O's. And then when he went to Golden State and he worked with Steve Kerr, he realized, man, Steve gets to these guys in a deeper personal way. And that chemistry really forms and those bonds really take place. And so I think you see a much more tighter group than we've had in the past insofar as just the relationship between the coach and the players.
Kind of along those lines, I said the other day, I think Steve Kerr is like the coaching whisperer, because you saw it with Mike Brown. Mike was a different coach when he left Golden State. This is when he went in, and same with Kenny now. We talked about on the show before, Max Strus is he's let Max implement their zone defense that they use because they brought it from Miami. Where have you seen Kenny's sort of trust in his players? Like, that seems like one example. I've seen times where Donovan runs over and says something to him, and like they're using plays that the players come up. You know what I mean? It just feels like there's a lot of trust from Kenny into the players in terms of how they go about and what they want to run.
Yeah, Jay, you see it a lot in practices and shoot-arounds, which I'm fortunate enough to be able to sit in on, where the players will actually stop a play or stop a set and say, well, why don't we try this, or let's run it this way, or Donovan will interact with another player to say, no, you need to cut this way, or this is going to be done this way. And so he entrusts his players to carry out what he would like on the floor, and so that empowers them. Right? They feel as though we've got a say in this. It's just not a dictatorial, you do it this way, you do it this way. So I think that's been a change, that he really lets these guys have decision-making power during the games.
One of the things I was surprised at, and a lot of people were kind of surprised too, in a good way. The Cavs jumped up to this huge, great start. Number 1 in the Eastern Conference, had the best record in the league for most of the first half of the season. and you make a trade at the deadline. You move a guy like George Niang, who was loved in the locker room. Karis LeVert was your guy that you got the instant offense, was playing, shooting the ball well this year. Great defense. I wouldn't say great defensively, but he improved, much improved defensively. And you let two of those guys, core guys, go from your group to get DeAndre Hunter. Were you surprised they made that move, given the fact that they were so successful? And were you surprised that Kobe Altman, pulled the trigger? Because he could have stayed pat, and nobody would have said anything about it. But he did make the move.
So there's a lot of layers to your question there, but no, I wasn't surprised that they made the move, because their quest is to win a championship. And I thought Kobe said it very well in his press conference after the deal when he said, we're all in. We're going for this thing right now. And to have the ability to acquire DeAndre Hunter, who's having a special season with Atlanta, 19 points a game off the bench, and he filled the need. The Cavs needed that athletic wing, 6'8" guy that can knock down a long ball, that can defend at the defensive end of the floor. So you hate to give up a George Niang and a Karis LeVert. They were a critical part of why the Cavs were 41-10, the record at the time the deal was made. But listen, when you realize that down the road you can be facing a Jason Tatum, a Mikal Bridges, now you have that wing player to match up with them. And it wasn't about making a deal for the last 30 games of the year. It was about making a deal for April into May and hopefully even into June. So I give Kobe and Mike Gansey all the credit in the world. That's a tough deal to make when a locker room is as tight as it is, but they're going for it. I mean, they're going for it right now, and that trade really just amplifies that.
I mean, you talked about Hunter. I've been surprised that the dude just got off the bus and started jacking up threes like no problem. I mean,
well,
it was like he totally just is comfortable fitting in, is my point.
After the win in Toronto, we had Donovan on the radio side on the post-game show, and we were talking about 18 points and 4 3 balls, and he goes, Timmy doesn't even know the plays yet. So once this guy gets acclimated and gets comfortable and just blends right in seamlessly, I mean, there's a fivesome there that just can be lethal on the floor with Garland, Mitchell, Hunter, Allen, and Mobley.
Who's going to be the starter, you think, in the postseason?
I think Kenny Atkinson should be sitting in this chair to answer that question.
I know, sorry.
Jason's going to ask him that all the time.
Jason, who's going to be the starter, Jason?
It's a great problem to have. It's a great problem to have.
You can jump in on it.
I think it should be Dean or DeAndre.
Okay.
I don't think it should be Strus long term.
Even though they've had those great numbers, even though it's 97 minutes or something they played.
But it's also, I mean, in the regular season, you can start whoever you want. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
When you got those other 4 guys playing the way they are, it doesn't matter who you start in the 5th. But when you really get matchup heavy in the playoffs, and you're really digging in on their personnel, and you got to win 4 against one team, I think it needs to be DeAndre or Max, because you need the length. You need the length that Max DeAndre or Dean, because they have the length that Max doesn't have.
I mean, the stats are there, when Dean's playing. I mean, the analytics show that the Cavs win when Dean Wade's on the floor. Yeah. But, just to follow up on what Jay said, that even though he's had the success that he's had with Atlanta coming off the bench, Tatum starts. Mikal Bridges starts. So if you want that matchup, as Jason said, and you're looking at a postseason with either one of those teams or others, those guys are starting. So if you want that matchup right out of the chute, then Hunter would be your starter. But I'll leave that to Kenny.
I mean, DeAndre Hunter is a starter on 27 teams in the NBA. Yep. He's not starting in Boston probably. He's not starting OKC. And Atlanta, again, is another one of those teams that's really long. Like they've done a nice job of collecting wings. And that got pushed DeAndre into sort of a backup role that he was thriving at. Now, the concern with him, as we talked about before, has been injuries. So if you want to keep him in a 6-man role and limit his minutes, but you can limit his minutes as a starter too. You can protect him a little bit because they've got the depth. I just think we've talked about this on the show before, but it doesn't really get talked about a lot. One of the things that I thought was key to this deal was the fact that it reduced and it brought clarity to the rotation. Because there was too many guys, and Kenny kept saying he wanted to play 10 in the postseason, and I just don't think that that's realistic, especially as you get deeper into the rounds, because you want your best guys on the floor, and it was hard to identify for the Cavs who that really was. I felt like this trade really sort of narrowed your focus. To me, the rotation is obviously the 4, and then whoever you want to put at that spot. I mean, Max, DeAndre, and Dean, plus the core 4 is 7, and then Ty Jerome is 8. To me, that's the 8 that you're rolling with in the playoffs. And maybe there's a spot here for Sam Merrill. Maybe. I don't think Sam is a good. I mean, if you need a bucket, obviously you're going to throw Sam in. He's instant offense. But I don't know that you're going to play extended minutes with Sam Merrill in a postseason series. So I could be totally wrong. To me, those are the 8 that I'm rolling with in a playoff series.
Give me a name or two of a few teams that obviously, playoffs is what we're looking for. Finals is what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a list of teams, a couple of teams that you feel like are a little scary to you. Like their record may not seem like they're good, but they may be a good matchup for the Cavs. Last year Orlando, we saw that game and we saw how that rolled out. So, is there any Orlandos or any teams you may see in the front part of this, the playoffs that can give you a little scare?
My stock answer is Orlando.
Bingo. That's what I was going to say. You just said it.
You said it. I mean, that's a team nobody's really keeping an eye on. But now with Banchero back and Wagner back, that's a team that gave the Cavs fits last year. I mean, that was a war, that 7-game battle. I do think it's a 2-team race in the East with Boston and Cleveland. But, man, that Orlando team, look out. Great coach in Jamal Mosley. If that's a matchup that the Cavs end up having in the playoffs, that could be a real battle like it was last year.
I think the Knicks could be a war. The Bucks could be a war. Like
There's
do
no
think
easy matchups. I don't think.
No, like the playoffs are going to be a grind, and I agree with you. I think it's a 2-team race at the top. I think it's Boston and Cleveland on a collision course. That don't mean somebody couldn't trip, and Boston could trip along the way. Yeah, like the East is. It's not bad, man. It's going to be good matchups.
I just look at the Knicks at 40-plus minutes a night. I mean, Tom Thibodeau's done that wherever he's been.
Yep.
And you get into deep April and May, and those guys are just grinding at 40 minutes a night. Yeah. And I love that's what Kenny has done with this rotation is that he's limited the regular season minutes.
Yeah.
They may go 40 in the playoffs, but right now they're at 30, 32, 33. Thibodeau doesn't play that game, and historically it comes back to haunt a Tom Thibodeau coach team every time. I mean, they've got talent, but they're just weary by the time they get to May.
Yeah.
Tim, before you got on, we were talking about the Ringer's updated top 100 rankings, and 5 Cavs made the list. Donovan Mitchell at 12, Mobley at 22, Garland at 33, Allen at 49, and Hunter at 91. Those 5 rankings, and you can take it full screen so Tim can see it here. Which one of those catches your eye the most? Both Mobley and Garland jumped 24 and 25 spots, respectively, from their preseason rankings.
Me specifically? Who?
Yeah. We did this before you got on, so I'm just curious what you think on this one, Tim.
To me, it would be Mobley. The way he's elevated his game at the offensive end, and hats off to Kenny Atkinson for unlocking the offensive potential of Evan Mobley. We already knew he was an elite defender, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, all-defensive team, but how he has elevated his game at the offensive end has really been impressive. So, Donovan Mitchell's a multiple all-star. He's going to give you the numbers that he's given you. I love DG's bounce-back year. I mean, everything that he went through last year, but he's been an all-star. So you know what he can do. And now that he's healthy and he's playing for a point guard in Kenny Atkinson, that relationship is so special. But to me, Evan Mobley, as far as that list is concerned, would be the guy that you say, man, he's made a heck of a jump.
What's been your favorite moment so far this season?
Well, DG's buzzer beater in Detroit, that was a fun one to call. Donovan's game winner in Milwaukee. I mean, if you're asking for a specific moment, but
is there one that stands out to you? I mean, it doesn't have to be even like a great call. It could be the trade. It could be 44-10. I mean,
15-0.
Yeah,
that almost seemed surreal as it started to unfold because there were rough patches in the preseason, and you're thinking at some point it'll take hold. But, you win the opener in Toronto, and then you get to 4-0, 6-0, 8-0, and this thing starts building. You're like, what the hell's going on here? Then it's 10-0, 12-0, and 15-0. And all of a sudden, you're realizing this could be something special with this basketball team. And so that's when but you could also feel it. You felt it when you went into the arenas, and, the guys were like, it's one game at a time. But you could feel it as it got higher. That number got higher. That there was some pressure building. But That was staggering. Nobody saw that coming. And the other thing I'll say real quick, the 4-0 trip when we went out west, that New Year's Eve game in L.A. against the Lakers, that had schedule loss written all over it. Lakers hadn't played in a few days. It's LeBron's 40th birthday. Cavs were on a back-to-back, and we went in there and just destroyed them. And it was like, holy smokes. You know, then you finish up the trip with another win. So, yeah, that was another real eye-opener. Like, something really special is brewing here.
Real quick, 20 seconds. What was the moment where you thought, okay, this is real? For me, it was the Warriors game.
Yes.
Was it?
Absolutely, yes. When they just blew the doors off Golden State, I mean, it was incredible. You haven't seen a level of basketball like that. Like, everything worked flawlessly. That was incredible.
Tim, we appreciate you dropping by anytime.
Great to be here. I watch you guys all the time.
Open invite. You know, we're going to have a great rest of this season. I'm looking forward to your calls, looking forward to what the Cavs are going to do. It's going to be a hell of a ride. I'm going to tell you that.
Oh, it's going to be special.
Your season's not ending anytime soon.
I know.
You got a long way to go.
I know. I look forward to a parade, man. That would be great.
Tim Alcorn, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
As always, man.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we'll get to it. But first, we got to talk about subscriptions, and make sure you do that, man. We got the starters tier, $1.99 per month. You got your loyalty badges, the custom emojis, and the G Bush face is priceless. The G Bush stop playing with me face is crazy. I've named my emojis, and I've been trying to get them to give me another emoji. But they're like, listen, you can't haul out emojis, so stop playing. Discount codes for merch and much more. $4.99 a month for the coaches tier. That gives you access to our UCSS overtime videos and member shoutouts, discount codes for merch, and much, much more. So make sure you subscribe, you get the notifications, make sure you subscribe to the membership. And if you don't do a membership, you know what you can always do? Hit the like button because it's free.
All right, guys, we have one last topic in today's show, and it is a little Guardians topic. Jason, MLB Network put out its top 10 relievers for the upcoming season, and this was the top 5. Something on this list definitely caught my attention. They had Devin Williams, the Yankees' new closer, at number 1. 2 Guardians relief pitchers in the top 5. Emmanuel Clase at number 4, and Cade Smith at number 2, with Ryan Helsley of St. Louis and Mason Miller of the Athletics to round out the top 5. Jason, 2 Guardians in the top 5, but are they in the right order? Could Cade Smith be a better relief pitcher than Emmanuel Clase?
How's Clase 4th? Because he had one bad performance in the postseason?
Yeah, it was more than one, but
okay. I mean, a bad run in the postseason.
Yeah, I guess that's why. I agree. I think these should be flipped. I love Cade Smith. We were talking about him the other day with Bull and Jay on the show. But Clase's done it for multiple years, and Cade's only done it for 1 year. So to me, until he does it again, and I think he's more than capable of doing this again, but we got to see it a second time before you put him as the second best reliever in the game. So you hope Clase bounces back, obviously. I thought his last performance against the Yankees was a good springboard into the offseason because he obviously had trouble against the Tigers, struggled against the Yankees. We all know about it. We talked about it on the show. I don't necessarily love the way that he reacted to that with running and not talking to reporters after blowing it and then going on Instagram Live and showing all of his trophies and everything. It's very strange.
He had his high school trophy.
I didn't even see that,
That was wild.
Yeah,
like he showed he had his AAU stuff. He actually had it was Cy Young or it was something like that.
A bunch of trophies.
Bunch of trophies. He just went to the trophy case
he got on IG Live and showed all of his trophies. Yeah. I mean, if that's what you got to do to build yourself back up, whatever. Yeah. But I certainly don't think Cade Smith should be ahead of a Clase on this list right now. I mean, he's got to do it again. But he's got Cade Smith is a horse, man. Like I have all the faith in him that he will duplicate it. But Clase's got to be hot above him right now.
Yeah, that's prisoner in the moment. Clase was. Listen, I get it. I understand. Listen, he had a tough series, but I mean, trust me, who's not having a tough series against that lineup with the Yankees? Yeah. I mean, it's not as if like they were playing the Rays or something. So for me, Clase should be higher than that. I think he'll have a bounce back year. Cade Smith is a monster. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I think, when you look at Clase and you talk about regular season pitchers, who's the guy that you don't want to see coming into the game? It's that guy.
Yeah. Nasty cutter, great stuff. I hope he bounces back. I imagine that he will bounce back. But that probably challenged him more. That was probably more of a mental challenge for him coming off that series than anything else in his career to this point.
This is gonna be fascinating. I literally, I don't know. It's like the Guardians come into the season every year with a new team. Like but for some reason, I'm looking at it now like, well, we knew what the bullpen was. We knew what the lineup was. There's some open positions for a lot of cats coming up this year, especially in the bullpen. Do you still have the same level of faith in the bullpen overall and the pitching staff is coming into last year?
I think the starters will be better than they were last year. Obviously, no one can predict health. They have to stay healthy. Their bullpen I think will be elite again. They just signed Jacob Junis as sort of a swing guy. He could start, he could relieve. I think Junis is 32. He's had some moderate success in the past. We'll see if he could be this year's Ben Lively. Who knows? They sprinkle their Guardians foo-foo juice on him, and
they always seem to find these randoms and
turn them into.
I'm like, how are you getting these dudes off? Now, if they could just do that with some sticks, we'd be all right.
Well, I think you'll see Chase DeLauder at some point this year.
Finally,
that's the plan. If he can stay healthy, once you get past the contract clock, I would say hopefully by May, DeLauder would be up. There's a competition at second base. Juan Brito is going to have every chance to win that job. Gabby Arias had a great Winter League ball. I know people are sick of hearing it. Arias is still only 24 with about 500-ish at-bats in the big leagues. So we'll see. It's now or never for Gabby with this team, and second base is open, so we'll see if he can win it. Angel Martinez. So you're going to see some new names. Bizana hopefully, if Bizana gets off to a great start, you could see Bizana by midseason. I don't think that's out of the question. And this is how Cleveland operates, and it's just the way that it's the reality for them.
Jason, we all know and kind of expect them to be good. Mm-hmm. Good, which means make the playoffs. I feel like they make the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
What is going to set them apart? What do they need to get over that hump? We always talk about trade deadlines and things like that, but can this team be a legitimate World Series contender? I know Bill Nye, the science guy, picked them to win.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I did see that.
My kids were all over that one.
Yeah. What do they need? They need another $100 million in payroll. That's what they need.
Here you go. You're going to crush me right before we go to WKY. Well, we need another $100 million, don't we all?
Well, I mean, you got to hit the ball out of the park in the playoffs. That's what.
We don't have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo.
Yeah, and that's historically, you can look at all the numbers. It's hard to manufacture runs in the postseason. It's not impossible. Not saying it's impossible. But it's the
Does
harder
Ramirez
path.
have to have an immaculate run?
Jose's
he can
got to
do
have a
it
great
because he didn't
postseason
have a great
series.
postseason.
No, he's. I mean, if you look at his postseason numbers, they get glossed over here. He's never had great postseason numbers. It's one of the knocks on him. And if he was playing in a bigger market, he'd probably get killed for it. If he was in Philly or New York and putting up the numbers that he puts up, he'd probably get destroyed. But because he's in Cleveland and because he took so much less to stay here, people just love the fact that he's here. But, Naylor's got to have a big postseason series. Jose has to have a big postseason. I'm sorry, not Naylor.
You mean
Naylor's gone.
His brother needs to have a postseason, right?
I mean, Carlos Santana they're counting on now. Manzardo. These guys have to have big-time postseason series, and they got to come up with guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark in order for this team to succeed.
Man. Now, to me, I see it coming down to the end of the year. And I think the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, but the Royals, I think the Minnesota Twins, the Tigers, and the Guardians are going to be in a 1-2 game race the entire year. I don't think anybody pulls away.
Division. I think it's a very good division. I shouldn't say great. It's a very good division. And all these teams are balanced. They're all pretty close. They're all pretty evenly matched. Payrolls and talent and young. I really like the Royals. I don't like the Twins. I like the Royals probably. I like the Royals and the Guardians the best of these teams. And if Kansas City finds a little bit more pitching, I think their lineup is good enough to win this division. And they need to shore up the bullpen a little bit. But I think Kansas City and Cleveland, it's going to be right there, 1-2. And then Minnesota and Detroit, obviously, are going to have something to say about it. And then the White Sox are a disaster. But those four teams are going to be all year long.
Yeah, I might do that. Will the White Sox be worse than the A's this year?
That's a funny question. What would the A's finish with, Mike? Do you know, with wins? Because I know for a while you were betting against them every game, right?
That was 2 years ago.
Oh, that's 2 years ago?
2 years ago. A's were much better last year.
Yeah, you're right. What was
They
their?
still were bad.
I can get you their stuff.
I wonder what their win total was from 2 years ago, and if Chicago, because Chicago still has a couple big name players.
Last year, the Chicago White Sox won 41 games. In 2023, the Oakland A's, RIP, won 50 games, so 9.
Wow, they were 9 games worse. That's that's very impressive for all the wrong reasons. It's hard to lose that many games in baseball, which is fluky as all get out.
It's just miserable.
It's just like
it's so
you
miserable.
you could get a hot pitcher, and guess what? He strikes out 12, 15 people. You could just get one of those games where those games where you end up with left fielders throwing the ball because they moved through the whole bullpen, and it's one of them extra inning games where somebody beats somebody 25-2 or something. They get none of those. They lost all them games, and they was trying. It's hard to do that. That's crazy to me.
I covered the Cavs team. I was just trying to look it up real quick, make sure I got it. Won 19 games, went 19-63 the year after LeBron left.
Oh, yeah,
and
that
it
was
is,
brutal.
and that's the NBA. I mean, baseball's twice as many games. It just keeps. It feels like an avalanche. You just can't get out from under because the games just keep coming and you keep losing. And that was such a miserable team to cover. It was so. Guys didn't want to be there.
And that first game when LeBron came back, they was actually putting energy. They would place was rocking, and it was like
Moondog came out in a bulletproof vest. That's when I knew it was real.
We got 2 super chats to wrap up today's YouTube portion of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Both of them come from Boz Crow. This is in relation to our opening topic today about the Browns' financial plan. He says, it's not best for the region if taxpayers are paying half. The Haslams are growing their net worth. Taxpayers are suckers. And
Okay.
those are our super chats today.
Oh, I thought that was one. That was two.
No, it's 2 different super chats, same person. But we are heading over to WKYC and the WKYC Plus app in about 3.5 minutes. We will see you there.